across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
So for the first time in its history, Milton Keynes will be celebrating the culture of India. Interesting, it's the first time because there are around 15,000 Indians living in Milton Keynes. India Day brings together people from 18 of India's 29 states in Campbell Park for a feast of colour, flavour. Sounds good because I like food. And entertainment for all. Lakshman Costello is chairman of India Day Milton Keynes. Lakshman, it's an interesting concept, India Day, because my understanding of India as a country is it's incredibly diverse, regionally, hierarchically. Trying to distill it all into the flavour of one day is an interesting challenge, isn't it?
Indeed, Nick, as you rightly said in your introduction, India is a country of diverse cultures. We have those in 29 states, and almost every state has their own language, food habits, and the culture, the traditions, the dressing style. Everything is entirely different from going from north to south, east and west of across the country. And you're right, it's really a difficult thing to actually showcase all this in a one-day event, which is a challenge which we as a committee are facing in the last 5 months of the inception of this India Day concept, where we are trying to showcase all these in one-day event.
I really want to look at this notion of having 29 virtually different countries as states within India, because perhaps this is my own ignorance for having not been to the country. It sounds a phenomenal range, as you say, of cultures and food and ethnicity. Talk to me about two very contrasting states, so that I can get a sense of where one end of the extreme goes to the other end of the extreme. Pick me two places that are very different and explain to me why they're so different.
Yeah, indeed, Nick. Firstly, when you mentioned the point about never visiting India, probably this is an opportunity for me to pitch you and say,
yes,
on Saturday, the 29th of June is the time for you to come down to the Campbell Park in Milton Keynes to experience what India is all about. And
nicely done.
I'm sure you'll get those answers to the questions which you just asked. And actually going back to your question, Nick, let me take a couple of areas. If you actually go to the extreme north of India, let's say Punjab, and if you go to the extreme south where you're saying about the Tamil or Telugu, these two people, if they speak their languages, each other's couldn't even understand. And as you said about India as mini countries by itself, we sometimes call it as a mini Europe by itself, where each and every language is entirely different. Coming into the sort of the weather and the food habits itself, it's extremely cold in the north, whereas it's a tropical weather down the south. That's one key difference. And also, if you see to the food habits, the food habits that you have in the northern part or in Punjab is entirely different to the one which we have in Tamil Nadu or the Telugu states further down in the south. So each and every aspect of your day-to-day life is entirely different. But the beauty of this whole thing of the 29 different states is the unity in the diversity. But the one word which connects all these people together and make these people stand together is the one word India, Nick.
Yeah, it's fascinating because you mentioned that it's a bit like your own European Union. Bearing in mind it's actually a very similar number of states, isn't it? When you look at it being 29, and you say that what unifies all of these states is one word, India, but it must be more involved than that. It must be more complex than that. What enables the country of India to stay together, to stay knitted together, when, as you say, from the north to the south, you may not even actually understand what someone's saying because they're speaking a completely different language?
Exactly. However, if you actually look at the common thread across all these states, Nick, is the language itself coming from Sanskrit. The cultures and traditions, although there are diversities or the variations, I think the common thread is more or less the same. There are slight variations from that common thread. So, that's one of the things which actually keeps all these people together, that bonding of we're all Indians. And India has, by itself, has actually gone through a lot of changes over the centuries, in terms of the different rulers and the partitions that are happening, that happen in India, which formed into different countries, etc. But none of this has actually divided or separated India. The bonding of Indians whether you're north, west, east, or south, has remained the same and kept them together.
Interesting.
Because of that common thread. Yeah.
And this is, of course, why the day you're putting on in Campbell Park is important, because as we hear you be such a wonderful exponent for the Indian Tourist Board, it makes me realise that actually many of us don't realise that sheer diversity that the country has, and we've all been guilty of saying I'm going out for an Indian meal, but now having spoken to you, I realise that an Indian meal could be any one of hundreds of different variants and different flavours and different styles, and maybe that's where the education needs to come from for us.
Exactly, Nick. See, this is one of the points which we are saying. India is not just about chicken tikka masala. There's a lot more to India than chicken tikka masala. To go into this particular event, India Day Milton Keynes, we have about 8 caterers having the food stalls over there, and none of these food stalls will be selling the same dish.
You've made sure that there's going to be no overlap. Yeah, I'm sure that it's not by coincidence that you're promoting this as a feast of colour, flavour, and entertainment. And the reason I say that is because those are the elements that keep a country together, aren't they? Because ultimately, it's around what happens around our tables as families, as communities. It's also around our culture, and it's our culture and our cultural arts that join us together. So you are transporting that Indian glue into Campbell Park.
Exactly, Nick. To the very point about showcasing that culture and the traditions, we have a couple of very attractive, events happening on that particular day. One of them is about the parade. As I mentioned, 18 of the Indian 29 states are participating on that day. What we're doing is some of these groups, about 15 to 20 people from each state, would be doing a parade with their own local music, wearing their own costumes or for representing their own state, and doing a parade for 7 to 10 minutes from each state. So for the people attending the event can really see what different cultures and traditions of India are. That's one of the things which is going to be very interesting on that day. Not only that, again, bringing different cultures, Nick, what we're having is 4 different cultural stalls, as an example, north, east, west, and the south. So there would be a stall for representing the south, where you would be having the props, representing a banana tree or a boat, which is more of a Kerala, where you actually go to the other side of the country. There would be a camel and other things representing that part. So especially for the kids and families who have never visited India or seen what happens in India, this is a great opportunity for them to come in and see, what different parts of India has to offer to the world.
It sounds wonderful. Lakshman, I know that you're very much part of an organisation called DreamSci in Milton Keynes, which was formed last year, wasn't it, in 2018. What does the organisation do? And while you answer that, give us also a sense of the Indian community in Milton Keynes, the heritage, the roots, the stories.
Spot on. Nick, very good question over there. So as you said in your introduction, we have about 15,000 Indians in Milton Keynes. Not only, I would say Milton Keynes is a true multicultural British town. We have people from across the world. Coming to the Indians itself, it started, way back in 50 years when Milton Keynes was formed. But the majority of the influx, which is a sort of an overflow from London, is from the last 10 to 15 years, Nick. And we have people from diverse cultures, and all these diverse cultures are organizing different events. These could be some of the religious events which are meeting a particular sect, or there could be regional events which are actually meeting the needs of a particular state of India. So these have been happening for the last 15 or so years. But India Day is, for the first time, has come up with this concept of the non-religious, non-political, and non-commercial event to showcase the Indian culture and heritage. So going back to your other question about the DreamSci. So when I mentioned about these diverse cultures or the groups doing their own events, DreamSci, where I've been part of, or a founding director of and the chairperson as well, is DreamSci caters to the needs of the one particular sect of India, one of the diverse communities, to showcase what one of the Indian saint named Shirdi Sai has preached to the people. So it not only does the spiritual activities, Nick, based on the teachings of Sai Baba, what it also do is the charitable activities. To give you a couple of examples of the charitable activities that DreamSci does, one is a project called Food for Sai, where our team go out and deliver food every Saturday. This is a proper home-cooked meal with a starter, main course, fruit, dessert, and a bottle of water. to every homeless people, and also in temporary accommodations like YMCA. We've been supplying food to YMCA for almost over a year now. Every Saturday, all the young people in there get it. And in MK Act, there are people going through domestic violence, women and children. We do offer food to them. It's a proper home cooked, nutritious and healthy food is supplied every Saturday.
I may have to come and volunteer to deliver that solely so that I can just.
Oh, you're more than welcome, Nick.
So that I can taste it and just. Because I think purely for research purposes, you'll understand, Lakshman, that it would be a shame not to just get a sense of how tasty that food is, and purely editorially, journalistically, with no self-interest there whatsoever. But it does sound wonderful, and I'm sure the food is gorgeous. So the festival itself, IDMK, India Day Milton Keynes, just tell us exactly when it is. When does it start on the 29th, and how we can get involved.
Yeah, so this one, it's on a Saturday, the 29th of June, Nick. It is from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Campbell Park in Milton Keynes. The one important point we want to say is this event is free and this is open to all. This is not just for Indians. It is for anyone and everyone to come and experience the Indian culture. If you're an Indian, come and experience that. If you're not an Indian, it's even better. Come and see what India is all about.
You took the words out of my mouth there, because I was going to say, in many ways, it's even more important if you're not Indian, because that really will be an insight into the culture, the food, the history of this community that, as you said, Lakshman, has grown in the last 10 years, the overflow, the spill from London. And it's an important event where everybody can get an insight into their own lives. I think it sounds absolutely brilliant. So the 29th of June in Campbell Park in Milton Keynes. It's a park that is well used to putting on big festivals and big days, so they cater to it very well indeed. 29th of June, it runs throughout the day there. Is there a website, Lakshman?
Yeah, it is idmk.org, Nick, idmk.org.
Great stuff. Lakshman, it's been
and
a
also, we have the Facebook presence as well, Nick, if people want to go around and see about the event, that's the right place to go to as well.
I think it sounds absolutely great. So idmk.org or online, or just search out IDMK on Facebook. Lakshman, you've been lovely to chat to, and I'm sure we'll catch up in a different guise at another time, perhaps with food in your hand, because there are very few things in the world that keep me away from a very fine curry. So I hope the event goes well for you.
You're definitely welcome to any of these events, Nick. And most importantly, thank you very much for having the IDMK representation on your program and giving us a chance to spread the message of the event. And BBC is more than welcome for the event as well.
That is a pleasure. Wasn't he lovely? Lakshman Castella, who's the chairman of India Day Milton Keynes. It sounds like a brilliant event, one which will really be an insight, as I was saying there, into the colour, the culture, and the food, because let's face it, there's no better insight into any culture than the food. On the 29th of June, go along and celebrate that and support it if you can. This is BBC Three Counties Radio. You're listening to me, Nick Coffer.